Okay, so we have landed on a piece of data from the television criticism world that is. Well, it's pretty much unheard of.
You really don't see this happen. Not for a brand new show.
Imagine a new animated fantasy series. It just premieres cold, and it immediately lands a perfect 100% score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Right out of the gate.
Yeah,
I mean, this isn't just a hit. It's a full-blown critical phenomenon. It's the kind of consensus legacy shows might get after, what, 5 seasons?
exactly. And this perfect score belongs to Prime Video's newest series, The Mighty Nein.
That's the one.
So our mission today is a deep dive. We're going through this stack of early critical praise to figure out why. Why are critics calling this thing nearly perfect? And how is it supposedly leveling up the whole critical role adaptation approach?
Yeah, let's lay the groundwork here. This is Prime Video's second big adaptation of a Critical Role campaign. This one's focused on the second campaign, which is a huge fan favorite, set in Wildemount.
And the premiere date is set, right?
Yep, November 19th. And that 100% Tomato Meter score, it's just based on the critics. The audience score hasn't even dropped yet. So it's the critics, and only the critics, leading this charge.
100% score is a massive headline, but let's get into the anatomy of the show itself. Strictly by the numbers, what kind of show are we even dealing with here?
Well, if you look at the formal classification, the first thing that really jumps out is that TVMA rating.
Okay.
That immediately tells you this is for adults. They're not pulling any punches.
Yeah.
Then you look at the genre list, and it's everything. Action, adventure, comedy, drama, fantasy, animation, the works.
That list, that kind of sprawl, it doesn't feel accidental. It confirms the scope, right? Critics are consistently saying The Mighty Nein is a way darker animated story than the first one. It's blending high-stakes magic with, like, real political conflict and deep character drama. That's a really tough mix to get right in animation.
And that demanding mix is supported by an equally ambitious format. The critics have all pointed to this as a sign of, real confidence.
Let's talk specifics on that format. We're looking at an 8-episode run.
Right, 8 episodes, but here's the kicker. Each one is around 45 minutes long.
45 minutes. For animation, that's a big deal. Most adult animated shows, even the big ones, they clock in around 22, maybe 25 minutes.
Changes everything.
So what does that longer runtime actually let them do from a storytelling point of view?
Well, it completely transforms the pacing and the depth you can achieve. A 22-minute slot, it often forces you into this really fast, sometimes flat structure. You get that monster of the week feel, even if there's a bigger plot.
Right, you have to wrap things up so quickly.
Exactly. But 45 minutes? That means the team is operating with a cinematic sensibility. They can afford to have complex camera work, detailed environments, secondary character arcs, all without rushing the main action.
So instead of trying to cram 4 big plot points into 20 minutes, they can let, say, 3 points just breathe. They can build suspense, get into the emotional nuance.
Precisely. It signals they're respecting your intelligence, respecting your time. They're making sure almost every single minute of that longer format is delivering some kind of depth. It's a shift away from standard episodic animation towards something that feels much more like a premium live-action drama.
And that ambition is the real pivot point, because you can't talk about a second Critical Role show without putting it right up against the first one, The Legend of Vox Machina.
Oh, absolutely. The reviewers didn't look at this in a vacuum.
Yeah.
They used Vox Machina as the yardstick.
And that comparison is central to this whole 100% score. The consensus isn't just that The Mighty Nein is good, it's that it evolves the whole model.
Yeah.
The sources give us some really specific quotes on this leveling up idea.
Yeah, I do.
Let's start with Collider. A heavy hitter. They called the project a darker, more cinematic fantasy epic. Let's unpack that word. Cinematic. What does that even mean for animation?
When a critic calls animation cinematic, they're usually talking about the kind of budget and attention you'd see in a feature film. It suggests meticulous lighting, complex fluid animation, detailed texturing, and fight choreography that feels like it has real physical weight.
So it's not just standard TV blocking, it's got scope.
It has scope. And that's what they mean when they say it levels up the approach. It's just visually and structurally more sophisticated.
Then you have Screen Rant, then they raised the stakes even higher. They called it the most ambitious D&D animated fantasy adaptation to date.
Which is a huge statement.
So you have to ask, where does that ambition show up outside of just the visuals?
Well, it's baked into that structure we just talked about. By going with the 45-minute format and only 8 episodes, they signaled a real focus on narrative compression. They're prioritizing the core drama over, say, the little side quests that were part of the original campaign.
They're trying to pack the punch of a 10-episode HBO season into 8 animated ones.
Pretty much. And that commitment is what led Nerdist to give it the ultimate seal of approval, calling the whole thing nearly perfect. They said it delivers a deeper, darker, and more daring story than its predecessor.
Deeper, darker, more daring. That's the consistent takeaway. This isn't just a sequel. It's an upgrade across the board.
Which, that naturally brings us to the heart of it. If the consensus is deeper and darker, what's the actual story that's carrying all that weight?
Right. It has to be more than just pretty animation.
The story has to justify the hype. Reviewers noted that the series immediately expands the world of Exandria, like geographically and politically. The first adaptation often focused on more local threats.
A single city, a specific monster.
Yeah. But the Mighty Nein drops you right into this huge, high-stakes continental conflict. The world itself feels vast and dangerous from episode 1.
And it's not just a generic fantasy war, it's political. We should probably give some context here because these names are important. Who are the 2 big factions driving this war?
Okay, so the main struggle is between the Dwendalian Empire and the Kryn dynasty. To put it simply for anyone who hasn't seen the campaign, the Empire is the established, sort of autocratic, very structured human kingdom, often oppressive.
The establishment power.
Exactly. And the Kryn dynasty, on the other hand, is this enigmatic, super magical society made up of drow and other subterranean races. The Empire sees them as this shadowy, mysterious other.
So it's a classic geopolitical clash. Established authority versus a misunderstood, magically powerful force that is immediately more complex than just good guys versus a dragon.
Oh, it's international espionage meets high fantasy. And of course, every good adventure needs that one thing, that catalyst to kick it all off.
Did the critics mention a specific a MacGuffin?
They did. Reviews consistently point to the theft of the Luxon beacon as the core plot driver.
Ah, the beacon.
Yeah. And this isn't just some shiny rock. It's the event that shoves this group of misfits, the Mighty Nein, right into the middle of this escalating war. And just to ground that for a second, the Luxon beacon isn't just a strategic asset. It's spiritually central to the Kryn dynasty's entire way of life, their magic, their beliefs. So stealing it isn't just a crime. It's this profound act of spiritual and political aggression.
Which raises the stakes for everybody. And that focus on profound escalating stakes is directly tied to the critics using that word darker. But the really deep element, the thing that justifies the deeper label, that comes down to the characters themselves.
Yeah, the sources all report a very strong, very early focus on the characters and their internal burdens. We're talking deep-seated trauma, major secrets, shifting loyalties within the group. This is the mature stuff that the TVMA rating allows them to really lean into.
And in the original campaign on the stream, these secrets and traumas could take, literally years of real-time play to come out.
Right.
But critics are saying the adaptation is bringing these emotional bombshells to the front much, much earlier.
And that's the key to good adaptation.
Yeah.
You have to take those expanded backstories and pull the big emotional beats forward. Instead of waiting 30 episodes for a character to reveal their big secret, the TV format demands you address that secret early on. It defines their actions from the get-go.
So if a character has some major childhood trauma, the show uses that as an immediate driver for their choices in the present-day conflict. That high-speed emotional intensity is what makes the critics call it deeper and more daring.
It grounds the massive political war in personal stakes. It gives real weight to the idea that the Mighty Nein are, a group of dysfunctional people forced together, not just some heroic D&D party. Their internal conflicts are just as important as the external war.
Okay, let's pull back a bit and give credit where it's due. A perfect score on something this ambitious is a huge testament to the creative team. Who are the key players here?
Well, at the helm, as writer and executive producer, is Tasha Huo. She's credited with translating the essence of this massive campaign into a tight, mature TV show. And for the visuals, the animation is by the studio Titmouse.
Oh, they're fantastic.
Yeah, their style is so distinctive, you're getting high-quality, high-octane animation.
And the list of executive producers is long, which shows you the scale of this thing. Beyond the leads, you've got Chris Pernosky, Shannon Pernosky, Antonio Canobio, Ben Kalina, but then you see familiar names from Critical Role itself stepping up as EPs. Sam Riegel and Travis Willingham.
And their involvement behind the scenes, it just speaks volumes about the commitment to authenticity. And of course, the main cast is all the original players.
Every single one of them.
Laura Bailey, Marisha Ray, Taliesin Jaffa, Ashley Johnson, Liam O'Brien, Sam Riegel, and Travis Willingham. all reprising their characters.
That familiarity, that ownership, it's an X factor that critics always praise. They aren't just voice actors reading lines. They are the people who lived as these characters for hundreds of hours.
It's an immediate emotional shortcut. When you hear those voices, you are instantly tapping into years of established history, humor, and emotional weight. There's no way a conventional casting process could ever replicate that.
It's so powerful. So as we wrap up this deep dive, the picture becomes incredibly clear. The success of the Mighty Nein seems to be hinging on two massive pillars.
Pillar one is the immediate, almost unbelievable 100% perfect score, just a statement from critics that the execution was flawless.
And pillar two is the clear consensus that this show is a major evolution in adaptation. It's not just a good show. Critics are defining it as more ambitious, darker, and more cinematic than what came before. They just nailed a mature fantasy epic.
It confirms that the production team was right, that there's a huge appetite for complex, mature fantasy that uses animation for serious drama, for stories about political intrigue and trauma told at a really rapid, efficient pace.
Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you to chew on. We have this 100% critical score praising the show for being darker, more ambitious, cinematic, but you have to remember where this all came from. A massive, beloved, fan-driven Dungeons & Dragons stream.
Right. And the original campaign had all these moments of, levity, fan service, inside jokes that might not fit perfectly into the kind of hyper-efficient, high-stakes cinematic story critics are demanding.
So, given that focus on maximizing drama and political tension, does the critics' desire for a mature cinematic fantasy always align with what the millions of dedicated fans of the original D&D campaign actually want? What happens to that perfect score when thousands of passionate audience ratings finally drop?
That's the fascinating tension, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a question of whether structural perfection for critics translates into emotional satisfaction for the most loyal fans. We'll all be watching that audience score very closely.
That's our deep dive for today. We'll catch you next time.